Welcome to the It Factor. We're Jemmy and I exploring a new blog post by Mr. Len Kaplan, CEO of CDML, a managed service provider in Queens and why, offering network management, voice over IP and unified communication as a service, or your CAS, cybersecurity, compliance, infrastructure as a service, IaaS, cloud solutions, and Microsoft 365 and Azure solutions. If you're a small business owner or manage IT for a growing organization, this deep dive is for you. So today, we're really digging into something Mr. Kaplan flags as a pretty major evolving threat. The title says it all. SMS blasters, the new drive-by text scam targeting everyone nearby. This isn't your old-school phishing email. We're talking about something physically delivered.
Yeah, that phrase physically delivered is absolutely critical here. The game has changed because scammers aren't just relying on the big carrier networks anymore, the ones handling billions of texts. They've basically built a localized mobile weapon. Pretty much. And this technique just completely sidesteps the digital defenses we usually count on. It's not just theory anymore, not just something security geeks talk about. It's happening now, and it's a real headache, especially for small businesses where, let's face it, everyone's using their phones for everything, including sensitive access.
Okay, right. Let's unpack the mechanics then, because understanding how it works is probably the first step to fighting it. What exactly is an SMS blaster, and how on earth does it get past spam filters that are usually pretty decent?
Okay, so think of it like a fake cell tower.
Okay.
But it's portable, small enough to fit in a car often. It works by basically overpowering nearby signals. And here's the sneaky part.
Yeah.
It starts by broadcasting like it's a real strong 4G tower.
Yeah.
Because it's physically close, phones nearby automatically lock onto it thinking it's the best signal.
Mm-hmm.
But then almost immediately, the blaster forces those phones off the secure 4G network and downgrades them to the ancient 2G network.
2G, wow. Why 2G? I mean, wouldn't a modern phone just reject that?
You'd think so, right? But phones are programmed to connect to something, even a weak signal, if that's all they see. And 2G, well, it's like highway security from the 90s. It just doesn't have the robust encryption and authentication that 4G and 5G use. It's decades-old technology.
Oh, yeah.
So because that 2G link is so weak security-wise, the fake tower can just inject texts directly onto the phone.
So it's like a digital ambush. The message doesn't go through the normal channels, so the carriers, they just don't see it.
Exactly. They're ghost messages. They never touch the regular mobile network infrastructure that logs traffic, scans for bad links, looks for suspicious patterns. They totally dodge the reputation systems, the filtering, gone.
Wow.
That's why you might get a text that looks perfect, totally legit from your bank maybe, even when you know carriers are supposed to be catching smishing. They just never saw this particular message.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting for me. How is this different from the regular smishing, SMS phishing that we've all been warned about for years?
Oh, the differences are huge, tactically speaking, for the criminals. Regular smishing is kind of a numbers game, right? High volume, low success rate. Attackers have to buy or steal massive lists of actual phone numbers.
Right.
And they have to pay someone, usually a legit platform, to send those texts, which leaves a trail. The blaster, it just cuts through all that. First, like we said, they don't need your number beforehand. They hit everyone within a certain radius, period.
Geographically targeted.
Exactly. Second, they can pick really high-value, dense areas. Think a financial district during lunch hour, or a busy shopping street, or an office park full of businesses. Third, they can spoof the sender ID to look incredibly trustworthy. Maybe your specific local bank branch, or the toll road authority you use every day.
Ooh.
And finally, Mr. Kaplan's post mentions the speed. These things can apparently pump out tens of thousands of messages an hour within a radius of, say, a city block or even more. It's mass scamming, but delivered with this weird localized precision.
That proximity thing really changes the feel of it, doesn't it? It's less like a remote attack and more like someone physically invading your space. It's really unsettling. What proof do we have that this isn't just, security conference talk? Is it actually happening now?
Unfortunately, yeah, the evidence is pretty concrete. This isn't theoretical anymore. Law enforcement worldwide is grappling with it. The post specifically mentioned cases like that student in the UK. He actually got jailed.
Really?
Yeah. This guy was literally driving around London with an SMS blaster in his car, sending out thousands of fake tax messages pretending to be from HMRC, that's the UK tax authority. Imagine getting that right around tax time.
A student driving around with a portable fake cell tower?
Yeah.
that just paints a picture.
Hmm.
Makes it feel very real, very immediate.
It does.
Yeah.
And similar setups have been busted elsewhere. The Post mentioned Thailand specifically. The fact that criminals are taking the physical risk of getting caught tells you the payoff must be pretty high. They're seeing a good return on investment, sadly. And it's definitely got the industry worried. The GSMA, that's the big global group for mobile operators, their Asia Pacific task force, has been publicly calling on governments and carriers to do something, pointing to the rising financial losses people are suffering from these blast attacks.
So let's picture it. I'm an employee, maybe walking into the office. I get caught in the blaster's range. What does that text actually look like on my phone screen?
It looks disturbingly real. It might seem like it's from your company's bank, or maybe a delivery service like FedEx or UPS, something you use often, or even the local power company. The message always has urgency.
Right, the classic pressure tactic.
Exactly. Your account is locked. Click here now, or action needed on your package delivery. And because the sender ID looks so right, maybe even hyper-local, and because it sailed past any spam filter, your guard might just be down for that split second.
And if someone does click, maybe they're busy, distracted,
Right.
what happens next? For them, and potentially for the business they work for.
The consequences are fast and usually pretty bad. That one click takes you to a fake login page, looks just like the real thing, designed to steal usernames and passwords.
Credentials gone.
Instantly, which leads straight to account takeovers. Or if the fake site asks for card details, you could be looking at immediate credit card fraud, especially with mobile wallets making payments so easy. Now think about the business risk. If that employee uses their phone for work stuff, company email, accessing cloud services like Microsoft 365, maybe even approving payments,
Oh boy.
you've suddenly got a compromised device inside your network perimeter. It's a potential gateway to company funds, customer data, everything. The risk jumps from personal to organizational very quickly.
Which brings us squarely to defense. Okay, for the small business owner, the IT manager listening right now, this clearly bypasses the usual firewall approach.
Mm,
What are the practical, actionable things we need to do? Let's start with the employee's phone itself.
right. The first line of defense has to attack that core vulnerability, the 2G downgrade. So number one, if the phone allows it, and a lot of Android models actually do, users should go into their cellular settings and actively disable 2G network access. If the blaster can't force the phone onto 2G, the attack basically fails at step one.
Okay, disable 2G if possible. But is that practical for everyone? I know iPhones, for example, don't really give you that direct switch. And aren't there still some rural areas where 2G might be the only option for a basic call?
Yeah, that's a fair point. It's a challenge. For devices where you can't directly turn off 2G, like iPhones, the defense strategy shifts a bit more towards security posture and user behavior. iPhone users should definitely use the built-in message filtering features, the ones that sort of hide texts from unknown senders.
Hmm.
And honestly, if you're in a really high-risk job, handling super sensitive data, maybe even consider Apple's lockdown mode. It's restrictive, for sure, but it's a powerful defense against sophisticated attacks. But really, regardless of the phone type, the absolute golden rule, the one that needs constant reinforcement, is never, ever tap links in unexpected texts. Just don't. If you get a text from your bank, you need to train yourself and your employees to close the text, open the official bank app separately, or manually type the bank's known website address into the browser. No clicking links from texts.
Okay, makes sense. What about reporting? Forwarding suspicious text to 7726, which spells spam. Does that even help if the carrier never saw the message come in?
Yes, actually, it still does help. Definitely encourage employees to keep reporting suspicious text to 7726. While it's true the initial blast bypassed the carrier filters, reporting the content of the text, especially the malicious link, helps the carriers identify and block those scam websites later on. It builds up their block lists.
Gotcha. So reporting still has value.
It does, but probably the most critical protection, especially for businesses, is strong multi-factor authentication, or MFA. Businesses absolutely have to move away from using SMS text codes for MFA.
Because they can be phished too, right?
Exactly. They're just too easy to intercept or phish. You need to use strong, phishing-resistant MFA. That means using an authenticator app like Microsoft Authenticator, Google Authenticator, Authy, whatever, or even better, a physical security key. That way, even if an employee slips up and gives away their password via a smishing link, the attacker still can't log in because they don't have that constantly changing code from the app or the physical key.
Right, that second factor is crucial. Okay, so that covers the user and their device habits. Let's pivot to the IT management side. What technical layers should the business itself, the IT team, be putting in place across the board?
Okay, at the organizational level, IT needs to implement some key technical controls. First up, DNS filtering. This means setting up systems that block connections to known malicious websites at the domain name system level. So if an employee does click a bad link from one of these blaster texts, the corporate network itself prevents the phone from ever reaching that scam site. The connection just fails.
Blocks it before it even loads. Nice.
Exactly. Second, robust device management. This means using a mobile device management or MDM solution. MDMs are really essential today. They let IT enforce critical security settings across all devices used for work, whether company-owned or employee-owned, BYOD.
Like what kind of settings?
Things like forcing operating system updates promptly, restricting users from sideloading or installing unapproved apps, and crucially pushing out the use of that strong, phishing-resistant MFA we just talked about. And MDM can also potentially be used to disable 2G network access across the whole fleet, again, if the devices support it.
Okay, so technical controls like DNS filtering, hardening devices with NBM. That leaves the human element again, the process side. Sounds like our usual email phishing drills might not be enough anymore.
They're definitely not enough on their own. Training has to mirror the real threats. So businesses should be running regular security awareness drills, maybe quarterly, that specifically use text-based lures, actual smishing simulations. You need to see how your team reacts to a fake bank text on their phone, not just a fake email.
Test the real scenario.
Yep. And finally, protect your most sensitive processes, especially anything involving money. You need strict procedures for things like changing bank details for payments or payroll. Rule number 1, never, ever approve changes like that based only on a request that came via text or even email.
So what's the alternative?
The key defense is what's called an out-of-band callback. It just means you need a verification step completely outside the initial request channel. So, if a text asks to change banking info, the procedure must require someone to make a voice call to a pre-verified known phone number for that vendor or employee to confirm the change is legitimate. Don't just call a number provided in the suspicious text.
Right, use a trusted separate channel to verify.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. Putting all these layers together, the tech, the training, the process, controls, it sounds like more than just good security hygiene. It feels like it's becoming table stakes for compliance, improving due diligence, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely essential. Regulators, whether you're dealing with state rules like New York's NYDFS or federal ones like the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, expect businesses to demonstrate they're actively managing novel risks like this.
So having proof is key.
Exactly. Having documentation showing you're doing DNS filtering, using MDM rigorously, running smishing drills, having those callback procedures, that helps you demonstrate due diligence. It shows you're not just relying on old defenses, but actively addressing a threat that, frankly, bypasses a lot of traditional security. It shows maturity.
Okay, so let's try and bring this all together for everyone listening. The big takeaway here seems to be that these SMS blasters really changed the game because they weaponize physical closeness to get mass reach,
Right.
bypassing normal digital channels. The era where defense was purely digital firewalling, that seems to be over.
It really does.
So the best defense has to be layered.
Yeah.
You need to harden the devices themselves, try to block that 2G downgrade if you can. You absolutely have to train your people to recognize the lures and, more importantly, not click. And you need strict business processes, especially around money, that don't rely on potentially spoofed digital messages.
Well said. And that really leads to the final, maybe slightly sobering thought here. Until the big mobile carriers and the regulators figure out a consistent way to detect and shut down these portable rogue base stations, which is a massive technical and legal puzzle, by the way.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Until then, basically any phone that comes within range of one of these devices is potentially vulnerable. The risk is immediate, it's physical, and it's right there in your local environment.
A sobering thought indeed. Well, if you found this deep dive helpful and maybe learned something useful for protecting your organization, please do click that thumbs up button. It really helps us know what kind of insights you find valuable. Till next time.